Steve Bisciotti and these Baltimore Ravens have their absolute work cut out for them in trying to find their next head coach. I want you to leave down below in the comment section who are your top candidates for the Ravens to hire at head coach. Is it going to be a Jesse Minter? Is it going to be an Anthony Weaver? Maybe even a Brian Flores, a Marcus Freeman? You know, the list goes on and on for potential candidates. Leave it down below in the comments who you think will be the next Ravens head coach. Don't forget to like the video. We're going to talk about this and more on this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Yes. Welcome back to yet another episode of Quiet Storm Sports. I am your host, Sutton Def here. This is a Baltimore Ravens show on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. So if you like daily Ravens content, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell because we've got a lot to cover over the next couple of months, really. Of course, the Ravens season is already over, but they are well on their way now to finding their next head coach. So the news cycle is going to be absolutely bonkers for the next couple of weeks. I'm guessing that the Ravens find their next head coach within the next 2 weeks. You know, it is also possible that they go for one of these guys that are competing in the playoffs right now. They interview him now, they keep it under wraps, and then after the season is over, literally like maybe a day or two after the Super Bowl, that's when they announce their new head coach. That could be another thing as well. Or as these teams lose in the playoffs, you never know. Again, the opportunities, well, not the opportunities, but the options are not futile at all. I mean, there are so many options, and I've been looking at the odds, who's the favorites to land that head coaching job all day, man. Some of the names I like, some of the names I don't like. We're gonna get into all of that on this episode of the show. What I want to remind you guys is that today we actually do have a live call in the episode. On this episode of Quiet Storm Sports is Wednesday, so we'll be taking live callers, but only from members, official members of the Rain Gang, the channel membership. If you are a member of the Rain Gang, what you can do is you can actually go on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube profile page, go over to posts, and our latest post has a link to where you can actually join the show right here, right now, if you so choose. But as you guys know, I am live right now, so I got to bring up who's here in the live chat before we get into anything else. Got to give a shout out to the live chat. Dennis Hops is in the chat. What's going on, Dennis? Appreciate you for coming through. The Hawk TV 3339 is in the chat. What's good, Hawk? Don Royal is in the house. What's up, Don? Team Ramey says salute to your brother. Mogs 420, one of our members here, says hashtag Kubiak for head coach. I mean, I ain't mad at it. And I'm gonna let y'all know. And also let me know down below in the comments, are you of the school of thought that the Ravens should get an offensive minded head coach or a defensive minded head coach? Let me know down below. I would love to know. Let me see who else is in here. Void, member in the chat. What's going on, Void? Appreciate you for coming through. King Blaze, what up? Lisa Ann is in the house. Says Sutton, I'm not very happy about the firing of a Super Bowl winning coach. It makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, it makes no sense at all, actually. No sense at all. No sense at all. I hate it. Wait, Lisa. I think I misread you there. I had a call coming in. I think I misread you there. I don't hate it at all. I don't know why you're not, up to the Ravens getting a new head coach. It was finally time for the Ravens to cut ties. I am a little bit nervous for the future. I will say that. I'm very nervous for the future. I don't necessarily know what the future holds for this Ravens team right now, but let me know down below what you guys think. Are you nervous? Scale of 1 to 10, how are you guys feeling about it? Crazy Homebody Girl says, hey, what's going on, Crazy Homebody Girl? Let me see. Again, guys, if you do want to call into the show, make sure you join the membership, and you'll be able to access the link that's on our YouTube page right now. You'll be able to join the show and chop it up with me. Let me see. Kimberly says, what's up, Sutton? What's going on, Kimberly? Appreciate you for pulling up. All right. Let's see. Okay. Black Daniels in the house says, I've been in North Carolina since 2014, and the Super Bowl was prior to that move. Let's be logical here. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was time. We are a little over 24 hours removed. We were a little bit over 24 hours removed from John Harbaugh being officially removed as head coach of this Ravens team. And again, man, lots of work cut out for Steve Bisciotti. Who are they going to get? They need somebody who can usher in the back nine of Lamar Jackson's career. I'll just kind of preface what I'm going to say throughout this episode with that. Mad Roster with the Super Chat donation. Appreciate you, brother. Dropping the 5-piece in the chat. Kicking us off here on Quiet Storm Sports. Making it rain. Mad Roster says, I love high risk in my daily life, so look forward to the change. Me as well. Me as well. I'm totally full speed ahead to, because honestly, if the Ravens still had John Harbaugh as head coach right now at the time I'm recording this video, I would not sound as ecstatic and sound as, excited as I do. I'm over the loss on Sunday night. I'm over the Steelers' loss. I am full speed ahead to next season. It's a totally new chapter in my eyes. What happened on Sunday, that is the last chapter of the Baltimore Ravens. That is dead and gone. I'm ready to take on the new challenge. And like you said, Mad Rasta, the new change. I totally agree. I totally agree with that. So let's go ahead, not mince any more words here. Let's get into what we came in here to talk about. Let me go ahead and move us over here to our media. There we go. So like I said, guys, I'm going to go through multiple of the head coaching candidates that have kind of been floating around the Ravens kingdom in the past 24 hours. Like, who should we get? Who should we not get? Should it be an offensive guy? Should it be a defensive guy? And then I looked at the odds, right? I looked at the odds on favorites for who is the favorite to actually land that head coaching job. And as of earlier today, it was actually Jesse Minter. And I'm going to get into Jesse Minter too. But news came out actually a couple of hours ago at the time I'm recording this video that the Ravens have already put in a request to go ahead and interview Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak and also Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. Now, two kind of polar opposites types of coaches, right? But it tells me this, because again, Clint Kubiak is more of an offensive guy. Anthony Weaver is obviously a defensive guy, obviously former Raven, former player, former coach. So it tells me this. It tells me that Steve Bisciotti is weighing all of his options. He's not leaning heavy to one side, offense, defense. I think that he can go with either one, but he wants to kind of have a feeling out process to see who will kind of bring that culture. I think that that's going to be kind of the tiebreaker between a lot of these guys. But like I said, what we're going to start with is actually Kubiak, because again, he was not interviewed, but he was requested to be interviewed today. And then also Anthony Weaver was as well. So those are the two we're going to start with. These two have already had requests put in to be interviewed by the Baltimore Ravens. And what you see here are two graphics showing you these two coaches, their ages right now. Clint Kubiak is 38 years of age. Anthony Weaver is 45 years of age. And it shows you down here kind of like their strengths, the things that they can bring to the table for this Ravens team. So let's start with Clint Kubiak. Obviously, like I said, he's more of an offensive guy. And what did he do this season? He was able to take Sam Darnold, who, obviously had the year that he had in Minnesota the year prior, had a lot of promise in that year, and then ends up getting shipped off to Seattle with Mike Macdonald. And Mike Macdonald entrusted Clint Kubiak to run an offense through Sam Darnold. And hey, it worked to the tune of a #1 seed in the entire NFC. So, and like my guy Jarvo says in the chat, Kubiak got the Seahawks top 10 offense with Sam Darnold. That's a fact, man. And if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think that if you are of the mindset that a defensive-minded head coach would be better for the Ravens than an offensive-minded head coach, I think you're foolish for that. I do. I do. Don't mean to offend anybody, but I do think you're foolish if you don't think that the future of the Ravens matters as it pertains to aligning themselves with the future of the league, right? So the league is obviously, as we know, moving towards more offense. The NFL loves offense. You can see it in the rule book. The rules favor the offense, right? The NFL absolutely loves the ratings that they get from these games where they're super high scoring. So I think naturally everything is flowing towards, having a more offensive minded head coach. That's just my personal opinion. But let's look at some more, some pros and cons, right? So obviously offensive guy for Clint Kubiak, he would be the play caller more than likely, right? You get he gets an understudy underneath him. And then you bring in a stud defensive coordinator. I wouldn't mind that. A Clint Kubiak paired with like a Jim Schwartz. I wouldn't mind that, right? Head coach Clint Kubiak and then a defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. That would be pretty intriguing to me, right? Um, RJ says, who do I want? We're actually going to see that at the end. We're actually going to see that at the end. But the thing about Anthony Weaver and the thing that makes him kind of appealing, and I would suggest that this is what Steve Bisciotti sees in him, is that he brings continuity. Quite frankly, I mean, he just brings continuity. He is a Raven through and through, like you see down there below. Before we get into any more, we do have another super chat donation. This one's coming again from Mad Ross. Appreciate you, brother, dropping the 5-piece in the chat. Again, making it rain here on Quiet Storm Sports. Says the GM has to build a team so any coach we get can have successes. All these potential coaching candidates are coming from better rosters. I mean, I can't all the way agree with that. I can't all the way agree with that. Serotonin Light, appreciate the sub. I can't all the way agree with that, Mad Rasta, because I feel like this Ravens team absolutely has talent. Do not get it twisted. They absolutely have talent. It just takes the right person to kind of unlock this talent on this team. Of course, offensively, obviously, you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame running back. Should be no excuse why you cannot unlock that. And John Harbaugh largely could not. That's why I'm saying we need an offensive-minded head coach. And then on the defense, we've also got some really good pieces over there. I mean, when you talk about the Kyle Hamiltons of the world, the Nate Wiggins, as much as we are up in arms about him right now, even the Roquan Smiths. I mean, I think that with the right coach that installs the right mindset, culture of accountability, and all that good stuff, you could see a shift from guys who we've been critical of, like a Marlon Humphrey, like a Roquan Smith. Even though I still want Marlo off my team, that's just me. That's just me. But yeah, I do think there's talent enough on this roster to where if you get the right guy, he can elevate them and take them to the next level, right? But Klint Kubiak, if I had to pick between one of the two here, Klint Kubiak or Anthony Weaver, well, if you had to pick, let me know down below in the chat. If you had to pick between Klint Kubiak and Anthony Weaver, both of which the Ravens put in a request to interview earlier today, who would you choose? Put it down below in the chat. If you're part of the hashtag replay gang, put that down below in the comments. Because me personally, I would take Klint Kubiak over Anthony Weaver. I would. And like I said, I mean, I get it. You bring continuity into the building. You bring a guy who played for the Ravens 2002 through 2005 with Weaver, a guy who coached the Ravens in 21 and 22, I believe in 23 as well, before he went off to be DC of the Miami Dolphins. But honestly, I mean, if he came up underneath Harbaugh's tree, I don't want I want the stench of Harbaugh completely out of the building, if you know what I mean. I think we need to go in a totally different direction, philosophically and culture-wise. So I'm really not feeling anybody that's coming from the tree of John Harbaugh. That's just me, though. That's just me. Another super chat donation. This one's from Mad Rasta again. Says Ravens wide receivers are poor. Best wide receiver is under 6 feet. I mean, look, you guys know how I feel about the Ravens wide receivers, right? However, I do think about this. Think about how a new offensive-minded head coach might be able to unlock the likes of a Rashad Bateman, unlock a Tez Walker. I'm just saying, I mean, we already know what we have in Zay Flowers. I think personally, Zay Flowers is a high-end wide receiver too, but in tandem with the run game, again, Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame running back, you shouldn't need all the talent in the world at pass catcher, especially considering you have those tight ends, right? Especially if we can extend Likely. I don't know. We need proven wide receivers. I can understand that too. But I want to see guys like Tez Walker get more burn, right? I want to see him get more snaps, more opportunities. And I feel like the right offensive-minded head coach would be able to deliver that. Now, and Likely might be gone. You're right. He might be gone. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Let's move on, though, because those were the two that they interviewed today. Let's move on. Let's get LaFleur. I mean, not LaFleur. Let's get Kubiak out of here. Let's get Weaver out of here. And now let's move on to how about a Brian Flores, right? Let's look at Brian Flores and let's look at Jesse Minter, because these are two candidates that also have been seeing a lot. I've been seeing a lot of speculation behind, hey, the Ravens should go after these guys. Hey, they should be on the phone with a Brian Flores, with a Jesse Minter. And here's why. If you look at some of their pros and cons, and obviously Jesse Minter 42, Brian Flores 44, age respectively. With Brian Flores, you do get a lot of upsides. You get a lot of upside, I think. You don't get an offensive mastermind, which is what I think that the Ravens need, especially with the way that where the league is going and the type of quarterback and running back duo that you have. So you don't get the offensive mind with him, but you get one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, for one. You get a guy who already has NFL head coaching experience, for two. And number three, you get a natural born leader, right? You get a guy who I know for a fact the players will resonate with and run through a wall for, right? And I think that that's kind of what's important. I mean, you need, again, the culture. It was mainly the culture. The Ravens felt like John Harbaugh had actually lost the locker room. When you lose the locker room, that means that the culture is lacking in the building. That means the culture is lacking in the building, right? Which means that you want a guy, ideally, to replace John Harbaugh that can galvanize the troops. And that's exactly what Brian Flores do. So again, let's recap. I get experience, head coaching experience. I get leadership and resonation with the players. And I also get a revitalized defense. Now, if you're Steve Bisciotti and you're of the school of thought, or if you're yourself watching at home, right, and you're thinking to yourself like, yeah, I think that this Ravens team needs to get back to like the mid 2000s Ravens, where it was all about defense. We obviously already have a good running game. Not worried about that side of the ball. Maybe you're not worried about the offense. It's all about getting back to the basics on defense and being that bully, the bullies of Baltimore, right? That we're used to. Because right now, or what we just saw this past season, this defense was getting punched in the face pretty frequently. I don't think that happens underneath Brian Flores all that much. I don't. So I like the prospect of a Brian Flores, even though I'm on the side of the fence that I want an offensive-minded head coach, because again, that's where the league is going. I think that the phrase "defense wins championships" is a little bit tired in 2026, and you can see some of the most successful coaches in the league, some of the most successful teams in the league, have a dominant offense. A dominant offense. I mean, you can look at the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, the Seattle Seahawks are really, really good because, Mike Macdonald and what he's doing for that defense. But if it weren't for Clint Kubiak and what he's doing with Sam Darnold, they would not have the number 1 seed right now. So it goes to show you, in my eyes, I think that offensive coaches are pound for pound more valuable than defensive coaches. And I know I'm not the first one to say that or share that sentiment, but I think that it's important to consider when you're shopping for your next head coach if you're Steve Bisciotti. Let me know if you agree down below in the chat. Let me know if you agree. That phrase is the truth. Sure. I mean, when Texans are winning with defense. Yes, Texans are winning with defense as well. I can understand that. I honestly think that the Texans are a little bit phony. They could get exposed. Maybe not by the Steelers, but I definitely think if the Ravens would have made the playoffs, the Ravens would have found a way to beat the Texans. I don't know. I think that house of cards can go crashing down one way or another. That's just me. And I see a lot of you guys, disagreeing with me in the chat, saying that, defense does win championships and that's what the Ravens need to get back to. But that's why this is a great discussion. I love this. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel as well if you are enjoying the content. And again, be sure, if you're part of the hashtag replay gang, leave a comment down below on which head coaching candidate do you think is the best. If you want to rank them 1 through 4, 1 through 5 of the top ones, let me know. Jesse Minter, again, age 42 years old. Jesse Minter is the defensive coordinator for the LA Chargers. An LA Chargers team who is top 3 in interceptions this year, top 5 in yards per game allowed this year. There's a lot of good that's come out of Jesse Minter's defense, right? That LA Chargers defense has been underrated, especially the second half of the year. But the main reason, and again, Jesse Minter is kind of seen as a boy genius on defense, much like Mike Macdonald. And you can take it even a step further because he's got some of the same lineage and the same experience that Mike Macdonald had. Both coached at Michigan, right? Both coached under Harbaugh's. So there's some familiarity there between the Ravens and Jesse Minter already. Now, again, like I said before, I would personally prefer, me personally, I would prefer the stench of Harbaugh to be completely taken out of the building, right? We need fresh everything. You know, I don't necessarily want a guy. I don't think it makes sense to fire a guy and then go hire, one of his proteges or a protege adjacent to him. You know, because you can start to see probably some of that same culture, Harbaughism type culture, creep back into the franchise. That's what I'm afraid of with a Jesse Minter. I could be wrong. He could be the boy genius, right? And he could be the next Mike McDonald. He truly could, and he might. And which is why he's not too far down on my list. But again, I lean towards offense, guys. I lean towards offense. I lean towards offense. I do. And again, guys, and the reason why I lean towards offense is because you have Lamar Jackson, who is going into year number 9, who I think, much like in the transition era between Greg Roman to Todd Monken, and how that kind of increased Lamar Jackson's production offensively, I think that now it's time to bring the culture to the next level, to kind of bring everything together. Because that's the only thing that it really felt like this Ravens team was missing was a culture of accountability, right? And an offensive minded head coach who could be on the field, call plays on the field, be involved, collaborate with Lamar Jackson. I feel like that's what we were missing to really unlock this offense. Not to mention an offensive minded head coach is going to 10 times out of 10 make sure that that offensive line is right. That's what I think. That's what I think. So let's move on. Jesse Minter, again, I'm out on him. If I had to pick between Jesse Minter or Brian Flores, that's a tough one. Before we move on, if I had to pick between Jesse Minter or Brian Flores as the next head coach of the Ravens, I would probably go Brian Flores because, like I said, I still get the defensive coordinator prowess there, right? But I also get head coaching experience, and I also get guaranteed leadership. Like the combination of those things kind of sway me towards Brian Flores if I had to pick between the two. But I know that the Ravens might give the nod to a guy like Jesse Minter just because of his background. Just because of his background. I truly do believe that. Make sure you guys like this video. Again, sub to the channel if you are new. We'd appreciate that here over at PRP. Let me see here. All right. So let's go ahead and move on here. Now, who I really want is this next guy. This is who I really want. If I had to pick between any of the head coaching candidates that are on the table for the Ravens, me personally, I'm going Mike LaFleur. I am going Mike LaFleur 10 times out of 10. And here's why. Mike LaFleur is coming up through this Sean McVay coaching tree, which, as we know, is probably the newest and hottest coaching tree in the NFL. Because whatever seems to fall off this tree, especially offensive coaches, they seem to go on and do some pretty great things. Kevin O'Connell is one of them, just one of them. There's a couple of other guys as well. But Mike LaFleur, what he has done for this Rams offense that had a below average offensive line and getting them to score the most points per game in the league, right? With that O-line and a statue quarterback and a good running back. I won't say great because Derrick Henry is great. Kyron Williams is good. He's a good running back. Look what he was able to do. I can only imagine. And Mad Rasta, I'm going to get to you right quick. I can only imagine what he would do in this Ravens offense. Reason I say that is because a big part of his scheme is using 13 personnel. A 13 personnel package with one running back and three tight ends, and duo gap runs. If he can come in and fix this offensive line, which I think is going to be Eric DeCosta's de facto number one priority this offseason, like it literally has to. And you can shore up the trenches on the O-line, especially. This run game should become unstoppable, right? This pass game should become unstoppable. 13 personnel is something that the Ravens do and can run right now with the recipe. No, not with the recipe. With the ingredients that are already in the kitchen for the Ravens, Mike LaFleur can make his best meal with the ingredients that are already in the Ravens' kitchen. And by the way, we have two secret ingredients: a total upgrade over your quarterback. Sorry, Matt Stafford, legend, Hall of Famer, could win his second Super Bowl this year. Who knows? We'll see. But Lamar Jackson has more to offer than Matthew Stafford. And again, like I said, Kyren Williams is a good running back, but Derrick Henry is a great running back. And then you have the tight ends. Now, I know Mark Andrews on a 3-year extension. Kohler will probably be retained, play for some pennies. And likely is the only one who you kind of have worries about him probably being shipped out of Baltimore. But if the Ravens were to retain Likely, or maybe just draft another stud tight end out of the draft, I think that bringing in a Mike LaFleur could fit perfectly. It could be the perfect marriage. Again, like I said, the Ravens have all the ingredients for the recipe that Mike LaFleur loves, but we have two secret ingredients to take that recipe of his to the next level. Now, let's address him not calling plays, because that is true. And if you notice, offensive influence, his ranking here is lower than his offensive mind. Mike LaFleur is a very detail-oriented guy. And this is not just me spitballing here. These are words from Sean McVay. Sean McVay loves Mike LaFleur for his ideas and concepts that he brings to the table. He collaborates with Sean McVay. Of course, McVay has the final say-so on play calling. But, I mean, hey, guys got to start somewhere, right? After watching Sean McVay, I have no doubt in my mind he's ready to start calling plays. I have no doubt in my mind, especially if he's collaborating with another offensive coordinator under him. No doubt in my mind. And it would make it all the easier, having weapons like a Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Not to mention, Mike LaFleur is only 38 years old. So instead of like a 63-year-old Harbaugh who can't relate to any of the guys in the locker room, Mike LaFleur will. Maybe not on the level of a Brian Flores. Maybe not on the level of, hypothetically speaking, like a Marcus Freeman or somebody like that. But I think Mike LaFleur is young enough to connect with the players. I think that his offensive game plan and his scheme fits perfectly with the personnel that's already here in Baltimore. And he's coming from the hottest NFL coaching tree in the league right now, the McVay tree. And like I said, I think that this Ravens team needs to go in a totally different direction. Of course, they've always been known for defense. I get that. I understand that wholeheartedly. But I think shifting to what your strengths are, which is your MVP quarterback and your Hall of Fame running back, is what's most important right now. And making sure that Lamar Jackson and this offense can evolve and take that next step and kind of graduate to being a more potent offense than they already are. A much more consistent offense than they already are, especially in the red zone. Mike LaFleur would be the best option in my eyes. If you pair up a Mike LaFleur and give him a defensive coordinator like a Jim Schwartz, who says no to that? Get Mike LaFleur, get a stud DC, and let's roll. Who says no to that? Literally. I don't think anybody would say no to that. Now, if I had to rank them, because we just went through 5 different head coaching candidates. If I had to rank them from my most desired to my least desired, it would go as follows. 1, again, Mike LaFleur, mainly because of the scheme that he runs. It fits perfectly with what we already do here in Baltimore. I also think that he's probably going to be the next up, hot coach out of the Sean McVay tree. So whoever does end up getting Mike LaFleur, they're gonna end up being in good hands. I'll go Mike LaFleur first. After Mike LaFleur, I'm going Clint Kubiak. After LaFleur, I'm going Kubiak. Again, offensive minded head coach. Let's go where the league is going, right? We don't have to try to go the other way. Gone are the days where the Ravens are trying to zag while everybody else is trying to zig. No, the name of the game is zigging because that is the standard now. You just have to be able to do it at a higher level than everybody else. So that's why I want an offensive head coach. So I'll go number 1, LaFleur. Number 2, Kubiak. We need innovation on offense. We need innovation on offense. We don't need, teams thinking they have Lamar Jackson in this offense figured out. That's unacceptable. 1, LaFleur. 2, Kubiak. 3, I would go Brian Flores. Again, Brian Flores is not an offensive guy. But if he makes the right hire at offensive coordinator, I think we could still be fine. But the main things that you get from him are head coaching experience, of course, dominant defensive coordinator himself and play caller, and you get a leader, a bona fide leader for that Ravens locker room. I would love that. So that's my third choice. My fourth choice, I'm going to go ahead and say Jesse Minter. Jesse Minter could possibly be the next Mike Macdonald. He could possibly be the next Mike Macdonald. I don't know if he has the same sort of, I guess you could say, attitude or moxie that Mike Macdonald has, but he's one of those geniuses on defense, and he's young, 42 years old. So I wouldn't mind it. Plus, he's been in and around the Harbaugh tree, the Michigan tree, and so he'll probably get the best references and things like that. And I'm sure they'll give him an interview. But again, I'm more of the defensive-minded head coach, and the reason why I think Brian Flores beats him out for me is because Brian Flores has already proven that he can call a good defense as a head coach, and he can lead a team. Right. The only thing about Brian Flores is you have that, the NFL lawsuit thing pending, and that could be a media shitstorm in some ways. But you get what I mean. But after Jesse Minter, so again, to recap, LaFleur is number 1 for me. Kubiak number 2 for me. Brian Flores number 3 for me. Jesse Minter number 4. And the other guy that was interviewed today, Anthony Weaver, is going to be number 5 on my list. Currently number 5 on my list is Anthony Weaver. And again, Anthony Weaver is another good candidate because he is, Anthony Weaver he's been a Raven before. He's been a Raven for, been around this organization for a very long time. So it doesn't surprise me at all that Steve Bisciotti reached out to Anthony Weaver first. It's interesting that he reached out to Clint Kubiak and Anthony Weaver, because I would think that he would probably have his preference on whether or not he wants an offensive-minded guy or a defensive-minded, guy. But this move, him interviewing these two guys first, it tells you he's weighing all his options. And hey, I commend him for it. It really seems like Steve Bisciotti is doing the work this offseason. It really seems like he's taking the reins over his franchise and saying, okay, we got to make some changes. Here's what we're going to do. I like it. But Anthony Weaver, yeah, I don't think he's it either, Mad Rasta. He would probably be my last option. We'll take some questions here after this. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, take a little break, and we'll be right back in 30 seconds. All right, all right, all right. We are back. We are back. We are back. We are back again. What I need you to do, comment down below. Who is your favorite head coaching candidate for the Ravens this year? Like I said before, they have their work cut out for them. There's a lot of good candidates out there. I'll say this. It's not like there's nobody. I've been hearing people float out Marcus Freeman here and there. I wanted to talk about that. In terms of a leader, in terms of a leader, somebody who you think can really, really like turn this team up and guys would want to run through a wall for, a relatively young guy at that, Marcus Freeman would be that. And again, I see a lot of buzz on the internet about possibly bringing in a guy like that. However, I think literally just the other day, he re-upped on his contract for another year with Notre Dame. And I don't think that this Ravens job opening up would really change him or change his mind to where he kind of turns his back all of a sudden on Notre Dame and rescinds his contract or whatever. I don't see that. I don't see that. But who y'all want? Who y'all want? Who y'all want? User says Ray Lewis. I think that Ray Lewis is I think a little bit too much of a wild card in the eyes of a Steve Bisciotti. I don't think that they would go in that direction. I don't. However, I would love to know what guys like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and all those guys thought about the Harbaugh firing. I would love to know what they thought about that. Would love to be a fly on the wall, right? Mad Rasta says, can we release Roquan Marlin and Tyler Linderbaum getting paid? We paid too much or they're getting paid too much for subpar results. I can see that. This is going to be a very important draft year. And that's another reason why it's important for the Ravens to go ahead and find their new head coach sooner rather than later, because draft is in, 4 months, less than 4 months, right? Something like that. And you're going to want to have a guy in the building to collaborate with EDC as much as possible so they can get on the same page before this draft, right? But I agree. Some of those guys should go. Tyler Linderbaum, I would hope he would stay, right? And we would just fix the guards. I feel like he can definitely bounce back after having a little bit of a rough season, especially in pass protection. Lil said it says, hell, I'd take Antonio Pierce. Nah for me. KLA, what's going on, KLA? Says Clint is my choice, Clint Kubiak, that is. He's had Seattle's offense take off with a great run game with Walker and Charbonnet, and knew how to utilize play action to open up the pass game with Darnold and JSN. Yeah, like I said, Kubiak will be my second guy. He'd be my second guy. I was very, very impressed. Very impressed with what I saw from Sam Darnold and Kubiak this season. However, I just think that LaFleur is a little bit better of an offensive mind. I think he has a higher ceiling, right? I think he could keep defenses on their toes. Again, I say this all the time. The best defense is a really good offense, right? I think back to, I think back to the Chiefs when they were in the prime of their dynasty, right? With Tyreek Hill and a prime Travis Kelce. They were able to put up so many points that it automatically made their opponents one-dimensional, and that led to a lot of blowouts, right? So in a lot of ways, if you look at it like that, I mean, a really good offense can also be a great defense in ways, right? It can serve as a great defense if you're keeping the other team off of the field. And Kubiak, again, if Kubiak gets the job, I'll be ecstatic. If LaFleur gets the job, I'll be even more ecstatic, but they're kind of the same for me. Mad Rasta says KC defense has been A1. Yeah, and again, that's my point. I feel like the defense is good enough to have that sort of success where they're just dominating on both sides of the football. It really didn't seem like the Ravens dominated on either side of the football, at least not at the same time. They just could not play complementary football to save their lives, right? Which is why the coaching decisions here are going to be absolutely crucial, because you're going to need a coaching staff that can work in tandem with each other and utilize the chess pieces that they have on the field with one another in order to create some complementary football. We've been missing that really bad. ISO says, not gonna lie, it's gonna be Clint as well for him. Mad Rasta says Tyler Linderbaum is too small. He always gets overpowered. Yeah, I mean, he's an undersized center. Guys tend to just slap him out of the way sometimes when he's one-on-one. Uh, his nightmare are nose tackles for sure. Going one on one with a nose tackle and pass protection is just not his thing. Not his thing at all. Eric Bieniemy for offensive coordinator. I don't know if I would like Eric Bieniemy on my team, man. Let me see. I'm worried about how much Eric DeCosta is going to give Tyler Linderbaum. I mean, they're either going to tag him or they're going to try to extend him for a deal. It depends on how Linderbaum's feeling about himself. If he wants to test the market, then I could see him, being like, no, I'm not taking less than, market price and him walking somewhere else. I could see that. I could totally see that. And the Ravens will just draft another center like they would normally do. We don't really pay centers like that. Let me see. Slicer says Jamison Hensley is reporting the Ravens are considering Jesse Minter, Anthony Weaver, and Clint Kubiak so far. All right. I mean, again, the odds-on favorite earlier today when I looked was Jesse Minter, which if that happens, again, I wouldn't be mad at it, but I would hope for damn sure that that defense is back to being absolutely lights out and forcing multiple turnovers and back to getting sacks like we did all in the Mike Macdonald era. If Jesse Minter turns into the next Mike Macdonald, I'm cool with that. But we got to make sure we have a really, really good mind at offensive coordinator because obviously Todd Monken's not staying. Apparently a big reason why John Harbaugh got the boot is because he said that he did not want to move on from his coordinators, Todd Monken or Zach Orr. Right. And Steve Bisciotti said, well, that's unacceptable. If you don't want to move off of those guys, we're going to have to move off of you. Which is surprising to me because it felt like throughout the season, John Harbaugh was taking little shots at Todd Monken in press conferences after games where there was some questionable offensive play calls and things like that. It seemed like John Harbaugh would be kind of leaving Todd Monken out there to dry in a lot of ways, So it's interesting to hear that John Harbaugh said that, no, I don't want to get rid of any of my staff. And that was what led to him getting fired. Interesting stuff. Lisa says, Sutton, how will Anthony Weaver fit as a head coach? I mean, obviously the Ravens like him. I mean, I think that he would, in terms of getting ingratiated with the Ravens and just the continuity, getting him in the building and accustomed to everything, it might be a little bit of a speedier process there. But again, I question what we're really getting upside-wise out of Anthony Weaver. I mean, Anthony Weaver had a good year as defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins in his first season. I think he had a top 4 defense to going down all the way to 22nd in the league in total defense, I believe, this year. So, definitely took a step back. I don't know if he elevates this team. I don't think that Anthony Weaver necessarily elevates this Ravens team. So, but that's just me. That's why I don't. If out of all those 5 guys that I mentioned in this video, I would probably not go with Anthony Weaver first, second, third, or fourth. I'd go with him 5th. I would. Friend of the franchise, of course, but it's not about friends and family. I think we're done with that. I think that Steve Bisciotti, I mean, if he's going to stick by his word here, and wanting to win now, I think you should go out and you should get a guy who's either going to help Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry turn this offense all the way up, or you should go get a bona fide leader, right, who everybody on the roster is just going to want to run through a wall for. So again, for me, it's between Mike LaFleur, Clint Kubiak, Brian Flores. And then honorable mention for me, Jesse Minter. And then way down there is Anthony Weaver. I'm not a fan of bringing Anthony Weaver to Baltimore. I'm not. What's up, Coach? I see you in the chat. Says you're listening, not watching today. Appreciate that. Appreciate you for coming through, listening in. Hawk TV says, after that, retool that roster with the pieces needed to help this team win the Super Bowl next year. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, again, offensive-minded head coach, I think that first order of business would be, hey, look, Eric DeCosta, let's get that offensive line right. Because nothing else is going to work if the offensive line is dog shit like it was this year. So, and again, the best thing about Harbaugh leaving the Ravens is that we no longer have to be gaslit into believing that Daniel Falele and Andrew Voorhees are viable guards, starting guards. The best five that we could put out there includes those two guys. No longer are the days we have to be gaslit into that. You know, and if the next coach comes in and he looks at these two guards and says, hey, yeah, I want them to start, then maybe I just don't know something about football. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you guys at home are missing something. I don't know, but I don't see a world where that happens, right? Like whoever comes in, I think that first order of business would be to rotate those guys out. Andrew Voorhees out, Emory Jones in, Daniel Falele out, draft another guy, put him in there, or buy another guy, put him in there in that right guard spot. Let's rock out. Bring Likely back. Let's rock out. Again, Mike LaFleur for me, lots of 13 personnel this season. The Ravens can run that. Like I said before, the Ravens have the ingredients in the kitchen that Mike LaFleur wants to use to cook. We got special ingredients that he did not have in LA. That if he came here, he'd be able to turn his career all the way up. This offense should be no excuse for this offense not to be number one in the league. Kubiak's another one. Kubiak could do it too. He could do it too. Let me see. Stretch 52 says here, this team needs leadership, toughness, and accountability. That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure. And again, that's why I like Brian Flores. Even though he's a defensive guy, that toughness and accountability that he would bring to the team, not letting guys off the hook, and he got a bald head, yeah. He'd be dope. But again, if you're watching after the fact, you're part of the hashtag replay gang, make sure you leave a comment down below with a hashtag replay gang. Killer Cam says he has Puka and Adams. Take the purple shades off. I don't got on the purple shades, bro. I don't got on the purple shades. I mean, I saw what Lamar Jackson was doing with the likes of Seth Roberts and Miles Boykin and Willie Snead in his second year, in his first year as a starter. There's no excuse for not being able to get it done with Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Tez Walker, DeAndre Hopkins. There's no excuse. So I don't want to hear that. I really don't. We can get it done with the weapons we have here. As critical as I am of this guy behind me, Zay Flowers, as our wide receiver one, we've got options. We've got weapons to get it done. Would I love the Ravens to go out and get another, big body wide receiver with strong, sure hands who could run the entire route tree, like an A.J. Brown or somebody like that? Yeah, I would love that. But I know that the Ravens are going to have to spend capital on that because they can't draft them. And because I'm of the school of thought that the Ravens need to build this offense from the inside out, the entire team from the inside out, shore up those trenches first, and I guarantee you're going to see Pro Bowl seasons out of Zay Flowers again. You're going to see a rejuvenated Rashad Bateman. It all starts with the trenches, guys. All starts with the trenches. I'm acting like the Rams offensive personnel is I mean, you're right. Puka Nacua is awesome. But I'm just saying, Mike LaFleur, what he'd be able to do, having a quarterback who can throw and run, because Stafford can throw, but he can't run like Lamar at all. And Kyren Williams is good, but he ain't Derrick Henry. I'm just saying. Killer Cam says I was the main one saying trenches. Yeah, I mean that like Cam, that's the goal, right? Trenches are just like the standard, right? You have to have that. That is the first priority. Nothing comes before that on both sides of the ball. And that's my point. You get somebody in here who realizes you have to build this thing from inside out. Because if you remember back in the day, like I said before, in 2019, back when Lamar had, Yonda and the offensive line was really good, he was making it work with subpar receivers. No names, damn near. So it's not that I think that the Rams offensive personnel and the weapons that they have suck. It's not that. It's just that I've seen what Lamar Jackson can do with much less talent than we have now at pass catcher when he has a good offensive line. That's all. Trade Bateman for the trenches. Wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind it, to be honest with you. First things first, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. Let Tez Walker step up. Let Tez step up. Mog says, focus on our strong points, which are Lamar. We don't have a CJ Stroud or Darnold where we need a lights out defense. We just need our defense to maintain/contain. That's true. I would love a defense who forces more turnovers. That's for sure. Because like I've been saying all week, this past year, the Ravens defense, they did not force turnovers. They didn't force takeaways. They just gladly accepted them when they were handed to them on a silver platter. Right? There's a difference. There's a difference. But I totally agree with your first part of this comment here, Moggs. Focus on the strong points. Focus on the strong points. I mean, like I said, Lamar Jackson is going into year 9. He's not getting any younger. We need to maximize Lamar Jackson while we can. Get him an offensive-minded genius. Someone who can take Lamar Jackson to the next evolution. I think we've seen, I think there's 3 evolutions of Lamar. There's the archetype of Lamar that we saw in, 2019-ish through, I'd say, 2020, 2022. That was the first evolution of NFL Lamar. The second one was when he got Todd Monken. And again, he had an MVP season and arguably 2 of them underneath Todd Monken. The third one should be what's coming next. Do not ignore the evolution of Lamar Jackson, because I still feel like he's got a lot of good football left. As we saw at the end of that Steelers game, he can still will this team to victory. A lot of people thought Lamar Jackson didn't have that anymore. They thought that Lamar Jackson was a thing of the past. He's not. He's not. You can still get a lot more out of Lamar Jackson, but it's going to take a great offensive mind to unlock that. That's what it boils down to for me. For me. Roe Zempic has 0 sacks, interceptions, and forced fumbles. Roe is horrible. Yeah. I mean, for me, Roe, he's we're probably gonna draft another linebacker pretty soon here. If I had to imagine, Buchanan's gonna be on that ACL all off season pretty much. Trenton is gonna have a big role, I would assume, going into next year. But Roquan, I don't know what we do with Roquan. I honestly don't know. But I do know this: he's getting paid too damn much to give us the level of production that he's been giving us. All them damn missed tackles on Sunday night, unacceptable. Chef Spicy Rice says, Sutton, are you picking D-line or O-line in the first round? For me, I'm a go, because on the one hand, I would love to try to draft high for Nnamdi Madubuike's replacement, right? Because if there's one thing that I think will help out the pass rush in general and the outside pass rush, the edge rushers, is having interior D linemen, 2 of them, because the monster, the 2-headed monster of Travis Jones and Nnamdi Madubuike, damn near unstoppable. And we saw that as long as Madubuike was playing this year. But on the other hand, I would love for them to go ahead and draft high on an offensive lineman, because like I've been preaching all episode, I think that the offense needs to be taken care of first. Priority number 1A is the offense. Priority number 1B is the defense. So for that reason, I will say, go out and draft a guard. Hell, if you want to draft your tackle of the future, you could do that too. But get a bona fide lineman. I'm just afraid that they won't do that in the first round, because they'll feel like they can trade back and get more, because there's going to be guys they like. But it's interesting because, again, no Harbaugh. So whatever coach we bring in, that'll tell you whether the Ravens go offense or defense in the first round. If we brought in a Brian Flores or Jesse Minter, I could see us going and getting a defensive tackle in the first round. If we're bringing a Kubiak or a LaFleur, I could see us bringing in a guard. I could see Eric DeCosta kind of deferring to whoever this new head coach is for a lot of this upcoming draft. I could see that. Because whoever this, who comes in is going to be Steve Bisciotti's guy, right? So I think Steve would probably communicate to EDC like, hey, look, this is my guy. I want you. I told him you were going to get, a big say in who we draft. So I need you to collaborate with this new guy, Heavy Steve. Eric. I need you to communicate with this new head coach, Heavy, and collaborate with him on the draft pick. So again, whether it's an offensive minded guy or a defensive minded guy, that'll tell us exactly who the Ravens go ahead and get in that first round. I can't wait, though. I can't wait. Jarvo says, let Jay Higgins start at middle linebacker. I wouldn't mind that. Me and Coach talked before the season how much, we love Jay Higgins and his game. Definitely want to see him do some more next year. Definitely needs a chance. Let me see. Large man who eats cheese says Brian Flores and a Max Crosby trade might just be what we need right now. We lost our identity after Mike left. That'd be a hell of a acquisition if the Ravens were able to get Max Crosby. But I still think he's off the table, though. I don't think that the Raiders are willing to part ways for him. It's just unfortunate because he's dying on that roster. Same with Myles Garrett. They're dying on their respective rosters, and it's a shame. It's a shame. Go get proven talent, says Kogan. I agree with that too, bro. First round, get the best available wide receiver if we're not trading for one in free agency. We'll never draft high like this again. Give him the best wide receiver to put besides Zay Flowers. Flowers is 5'9", draft is 6'5", Brazzle. No, man. I still think first round. You have to go ahead and you have to shore up the trenches. You got to go O-line. Unless you buy somebody in the trenches early in the offseason. Free agency period opens back up and, you can start moving around with that again. Then I would say, yeah, go ahead, buy a guard, and then you can maybe invest in another wide receiver. I don't have to look into this Brazzle character. Got to look into him. Black Daniel says, bring back the crash outs. And that's another thing for me. I desperately want, like I said, an offensive minded head coach, but I want another dog on defense because I feel like if you get a dog on defense, much like, of course, in our history, like the Ray Lewises, the T Sizzles of the world and guys like that. But if I look at today, like the guys like Jared Verse out in LA, like a Myles Garrett, like a Max Crosby, like hell, even like young guys like Carson Schwessinger, guys like that, get another dog on defense who can kind of be the on-field coach. And I think that this defense is good, man. If you get those things along with an offensive-minded guy who's going to elevate Lamar, complimentary football, here we come. Sutton, how do you feel about Aeneas Peebles? Are we cutting him, or is he part of our future pass rush? It'll be interesting to see whoever we bring in, what they value, right, from their D lineman. Do you want a rotational D lineman who can rush the passer from the inside but struggles in defending the run? Most guys would like a guy who, most coaches would like a guy who's a little bit more of a hybrid at that. However, I do see a way forward, a future with Aeneas Peebles on this roster. I do think that he'll get another shot. I do. And he should. He should. What about someone like Mike McDaniel? We got nice pieces that's very similar to what Miami currently has. We got a plan to use Keaton Mitchell because the King is 32 now. Absolutely not. Do not bring me Mike McDaniel. And another name too, Kevin Stefanski. I don't want him either. I don't want Mike McDaniel because I don't think he's going to bring leadership to this locker room. I think that the guys will be over him pretty quickly. He brings no aggression to me. He doesn't really bring, a spirit to the locker room. Great offensive mind, but no, there's a reason why it seems like he had lost the locker room in Miami this year. Kevin Stefanski, I'm good on you too, bro. I'm sorry, but like I know you didn't have a whole lot going on offense, but I mean, there's been other teams around the league who have had just as much talent as you, if not worse, and not nearly as good of a defense, and they can still win more than 4 or 5 games, right? So, yeah, I'm not really in the Kevin Stefanski fan club either. You keep him far away from my Ravens. Again, I want fresh, new ideas. Fresh, new ideas. Lay them on me. That's what I want if I'm Steve Bisciotti. That's what I want if I'm Steve Bisciotti. Not old news, not has-beens. McDaniels is not a leader. McDaniel as an OC, now we might be, if he's underneath a strong-minded head coach who can rally the troops, then now you might be able to interest me with that. But head coach Mike McDaniel, absolutely not. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, absolutely not. Nope. I'm good. I'm good. Adisa Isaac, I mean, hey man, if the guy can get on the field, him and Ojabo were such wasted draft picks. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But listen, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. We're about an hour in. Thank you guys so much for coming out to this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Please make sure you guys like this video. Please leave a like on this video before you get out of here. Subscribe to the channel as well. And if you're part of the hashtag replay gang, leave it down below. Leave it down below. Who do you want the Ravens to hire as their next head coach? We talked about a lot of names today. There's been rumors coming out. There's been speculation about or news coming about from insiders, how we've already interviewed Kubiak, or we're about to interview Kubiak and Anthony Weaver. How do you feel about that? Let me know it all down below in the comments section. Again, my name is Sutton Def. This is the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, and this is the Quiet Storm Sports Show, a Baltimore Ravens daily show where we're coming at you every single day with new Baltimore Ravens news, opinions, and perspectives. If all that sounds good to you, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. JD says, will you guys be on tomorrow? Absolutely. Alex and I will be on tomorrow covering this, the latest in the Ravens news cycle. Maybe something happens. Some big news drops between now and then. So make sure you stay locked into the channel for that. Again, till next time, make sure you guys stay positive, always test negative, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. This is your boy Sutton Def from PRP. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.